Alright, let's just get right into it. If you haven't seen my very first video, go down and it's right there. My time at Taekwondo. I recommend you watch that one, otherwise you might be a little lost. But I'm gonna, get to the gist of it. Now at Taekwondo, I said last video that there was that girl Trinity who I had a crush on. And I'm not gonna lie, we did somewhat, I don't know, date, but we kind of like, whenever we went on a trip or something, we would sit right next to each other. She would let me listen to her ear pod and listen to her music, and we would always spar together. Now, if you don't know as a kid, that's pretty damn close to second base, I do say so myself. All the kids were over here, oh yeah, man, I just did a sweet roundhouse kick. And I'm like, oh yeah? Well, me and Trinity just, listened to the Backstreet Boys on repeat for like 30 minutes. So it was a pretty nice time. But what I didn't explain is that Trinity had a dickhead brother named Michael. Now, Michael was a fucking asshole. He would do anything in his power to make Trinity suffer. Now, as a big brother, you are a little douchebag to your sibling. I would know. I torture mine on a daily basis. But Michael was on a whole nother breed. Michael would take some of the embarrassing things from Trinity's room and bring them to the dojo. And it was pretty weird because Trinity was a teenager and she had her stuff. And Michael would make fun of her for it, and they even made a rhyme. And it was called Bloody Trinity because that's so appropriate for a kid. And at first, I just didn't care because I thought it was just sibling stuff, and I was an only child at the time. So I was like, screw it. He's just messing with her. But Michael also had this weird little tendency that I wasn't very fond of. Whenever we were practicing our formations or our kicks, he would just know. And whenever he got close to you doing a kick or a formation and you were in perfect position, he would kick you right in the fucking nuts. And I wasn't a fan of that because I like my nuts. And him kicking them wasn't really the best idea. So he always did it to everyone. And this was a little unbelievable at the time, but this is kind of unbelievable at the time. Mr. Mackey, our sensei, rest in peace, still doesn't, well, he didn't believe it. Me, Gregory, and Matthew were playing with this kid who had fucked up Timmy Turner teeth. And we're over here, I don't know what the game was. We were playing with a ball. And the kid with the fucked up teeth started running at us. And then Michael showed up like a goddamn phantom. We didn't even know where he came from. And he kicks the kid right in his fucking mouth. And he kicks his little fucked up tooth out of his mouth. And we're over here like, dude, you just kicked this tooth out. And then Michael was like, oh, well, at least his fucking mouth looks better, don't you, little shit? And he's like choking on blood. He's like, and he's like, yeah, he's fine, little fucker. Michael was just a fucking asshole. He would always kick us. And Michael was a higher belt than Trinity. Trinity was a ocean blue belt, while Michael was like a goddamn, not a brown belt, because that's like right below black belt. Let's say he was like 2 colors down from a black belt. Let's say he was a fucking purple belt. God damn it. He was an asshole about it. He's like, oh yeah, me and my purple belt, we going places. If the color purple was a thing, I would be dating her right now. Michael was so confident in that belt. So one day, Trinity got the idea to hide his belt because he just won't shut the hell up. So then Michael went in his little changing room and he's like, where the hell's my belt? He had a lock on his belt that only him and Trinity knew the password to. So we're like, oh, I don't know. So he instantly goes to Trinity and he's like, hey, you see my belt? And she's like, no. And he's like, don't lie to me. And it gets a little personal real fast. I don't remember the whole thing, but I do remember him grabbing Trinity, yanking her by her hair, and like launching her to the ground. And then that's when I got involved. That's when I had to be like, hey, you're kind of being an asshole. That's your sister. You shouldn't like throw her to the ground like that. And he's over here, fuck, you gonna do yellow belt? Yeah, I was a fucking yellow belt for a while, almost like a year. And then I upgraded. But at the time, fuck, you gonna do yellow belt? And I'm like, oh shit, now he's gonna fight me. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna kick your ass. And then everyone just looks at me and looks at Michael, and we're about to fight. And Mr. Mackey's like, no, this is not an unofficial duel. You must go to the mat and you must bow and engage in combat. But we got 30 minutes to prepare. So my friends are like, dude, Michael's going to whoop your ass. You know he's a fucking purple belt? He brags that bitch off. I'm like, damn, I'm a fucking yellow belt. Trinity is over here. Her head is bleeding because he just launched her into the ground. And she's over here, Rockman, if you win, I'll kiss you. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I gotta win now. You know, she just said that. I honestly, no one thought I was gonna win. The fucking purple belt versus a yellow belt. It's like goddamn putting fucking, oh my god, I can't, rabbit against a goddamn bear. It's not even an even match. And he's tall as shit. So we get into the, basically, I'm hyped up. Everyone's thinking, yeah, I can win. Rockman can win. No, he can't. No, he can't. They try putting that in my head, but in their head, they're like, he's gonna get destroyed. So me and Michael get on this mat. We bow at each other. My sensei's like, all right, you may begin. I just realized I'm fighting this Michael person, and I'm not pissed off. Now, if you have met me in high school, you've probably never seen me legit angry. If you've went to my middle school, or if you're a family member, you've seen me fucking angry. There are 3 stages of my anger. I get quiet. I have beady little eyes, like my eyes about to pop out. I ball up my fist. That's step 1. Step 2, I walk in a circle or walk somewhere. And then step 3, I yell like an uncontrollable demon and I murder someone. And I wasn't even at step 1. And then Michael started kicking my ass. And the only way you win a duel is if you tap out or if you get knocked out. And that was the legit rule. Mr. Mackey, we had to sign waivers. And my mom signed that waiver. I did too. Michael is kicking my ass. He's throwing me against the wall, but I refuse to give up because he's just a little dickhead. And if I let him win, he's just going to brag about how he kicked my ass the whole year. So I'm not giving up. And then Michael finally is about to like kick me in the nuts. It was his specialty. And then he says, your mom raised a bitch. Now, I don't play that. I don't care what you say. If you insult, I don't even care if you don't insult my mother. If my mother comes from someone else's mouth, I'm pissed the fuck off. I don't care if you say, dude, your mom looks good. I'm going to kick your ass. So when he said that, I skipped step 1 and 2, and I went to 3. And I got up, and I kicked him in his goddamn nuts. And he went straight down to the ground. And all my friends are like, holy shit. And I kept kicking him. I was destroyed. I'm telling you, Michael, if you're listening to this, you probably can't have kids. And you know this too. Because I stomped your nuts in the ground and you were in the corner. And then I kicked him in the face. And then I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. And I wouldn't let him say he gives up. Every time he's about to say something, I fucking kicked him in the face. And then Mr. Mackey had to be like, hey, that's enough. Dear God, he's done. When I tell you, Michael, fucking his lip was bleeding. He was holding his nuts. He couldn't even get up. Everyone, Mr. Mackey was like, that was a shameful way to win. But you won. And at the end of the day, I kicked Michael's ass. I don't give a shit how I won. Trinity, I never got that kiss until like 3 months later. And it was a really awkward time because it was in front of parents. But that was, my moment was beating Michael's ass. And fun fact, if you beat someone that's a higher rank than you, you rank up as well. So I went from a yellow belt to a goddamn aqua blue belt just like Trinity. So we are now in the same class and we saw each other more often. And Michael was still a little douchebag that pissed on the yellow belts. And he still picked on Trinity, but not as much because he knew I would kick him in the balls. And then I just decided one day, my name's going to be Nut Stomper. And they were like, dude, I don't think that should be your name. And I'm over here, Nut Stomper, Nut Stomper, Nut Stomper. Because that's all I do. And then Mr. Mackey saw my confidence was a little too high. So he whooped my ass right back in the straight. Like, he made me fight him solo on the mat. And Mr. Mackey was very tall, so I couldn't really kick him in the nuts. And he destroyed me. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. And that's the story of how I took down my Taekwondo bully. And if you guys enjoyed that video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I am now starting to do reactions, so definitely subscribe if you want to hear some of that. Check out my Edgar and Ellen video. I'm still shaky on that reaction just because the show is so weird. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Have a good one.